All right, it is Blues to Do TV. My name is Marlee Walker. Thanks for tuning in. And if you're tuning in later, you can watch all these shows later. It's quite new technology for me. Thanks, Christian Sadler, for being my engineer here every Sunday. We do have free coffee and treats if you want to show up and be part of the live audience, or you can just go to the Mariners game and watch this later. It's always on at youtube.com, and then you just search Seattle Drum School or Blues to Do. Either way, you'll get your way there. Sundays at 1 or whenever you want to watch. The Seattle Drum School is where we do this, and today's guest is Reese Tanimura, a musician, a huge leader in the Seattle music scene. We're going to get into all the details. There would not be a lot of Northwest music and arts in the way it is now without Reese Tanimura. So stick around. We're going to get their story. Pardon me. Thanks for tuning in, wherever you're tuning in. We're getting more and more places to tune in. My website is now live just this week. Soft launch, they call it. Okay, I'll call it that too. .org, blues2do.org. It used to be .com, but somebody took it and they wanted to charge me money, and I said no. So we built a new one. Thank you, Shitalu, for that help. And check it out, blues2do.org. And I think there's a QR code. Anyway, there's Reese, and there's their QR code. You can check out their music while we're talking, or later, either way. I kind of like that technology. Quick mention, we are broadcasting on Duwamish land in Seattle's Georgetown area from the lab, the little auditorium in the back at 1010 South Bailey at the Seattle Drum School of Music. You can take any kind of lesson here. We recognize the Duwamish tribe and thank them for taking care of this land for generations. Let's have a big rent party, all right? There's a powwow this weekend. I was there yesterday at the UW. They're going to be there today, too, and I do recommend it. Very welcoming space, and the drums are so healing. All right, we'll get some blues prevention on today. We'll do a bathroom review of the Tractor in Ballard, and then we'll just have a quick conversation. It'll go so fast. Reese Tanimura, our guest, and then a brief calendar. Blues prevention, let's go for it. Let your light shine. I was going to do this last week. We had a great conversation with Brittany Davis, and it dawned on me that their light is shining for sure right now, or her light. And my wisdom moment, if you will, my blues prevention, is just a moment for me to reflect on what I've learned and maybe share some of it. We'll be mindful together, and it'll help our relationships, I promise. Okay. What is there it is. Our deepest fear, this is a good one. It could be credited to Nelson Mandela. It could be Maya Angelou. There's a few people that have taken this and worked with it, but I don't care who said it initially. Marianne Williamson, I don't care. Our deepest fear is that we are not inadequate. Not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. We ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, and fabulous? Actually, who are you not to be? You are a child of God, as Nelson Mandela would say it. God. Yes, your playing small doesn't serve the world. There's nothing enlightened about shrinking so that other people won't feel insecure around you. We're born to make manifest the glory of God. Here we are in church on a Sunday at the drum school that is within us. It's not in just some of us. It's in everyone. And as we let our own light shine, we unconsciously give other people permission to do the same. As we are liberated from our own fear, our presence automatically liberates others. I love that. It still inspires me to go out there and take the risk, to play some music. Yeah, take the risk. All right, got to get through that one. I hope you enjoy these moments of wisdom. Just let your light shine. Yeah, just be you. The most power you have is in being yourself. All right, let's do that bathroom review. The Tractor, there's about 7 images because they just added a new, larger bathroom at their entry. So they got 3 now, a men's and a women's way back that they've been doing for 30 years. A lot of nice posters, a lot of history. 1 sink in the women's bathroom and 1 sink in the new bathroom. All right, that means 2. There's a good sign about the flush. I think you can see, that's the new bathroom. Let's see, that's the new bathroom, the entrance door. You can't really see very well. There's the new bathroom sink. But there's the old bathroom I tell you what, look at all those posters. Just a colorful place. And 30 plus years, a great place for Seattle live music, roots, Americana, some blues. And yes, the toilet does flush. You just have to push hard. That's what it says. It's a pretty clean place. It was a busy night when I was there, and had a great time. Saw the owner, Dan, and it's just big in Ballard music history. He is too. Connor Byrne. Looks like they might try to be community-owned.
Yes.
I heard that. That's a great thing.
It's exciting.
Yeah, very exciting. So we'll keep you posted on that. Our guest today, Reese Tanimura. Let me get right into it. By the way, the bathroom reviews will be posted at blues2do.org. Reese's intro is huge. Just give me a minute. I think I first found out about Reese when they were working with the Rain City Rock Camp for Girls. And also...
and now it's just Rain City Rock Camp because they're serving like gender expansive youth and
and you also work with the Rain City Jazz Orchestra.
Yes.
Formerly known as
with
Mood
Kellen
Swings.
Mitchell and some other great folks that probably have been on your jams and on your show, perhaps.
Thank you very much for bringing them in. And that's what it is. We have to bring everybody together around music. You do that extremely well, and I have the same mission. So I identify with your mission statement, if you will. I looked you up on Google. So much leadership. You've studied this stuff and you've done it. You've worked on a grassroots level with homeless people in the justice system, with youth. You were the manager of MOVE, which Civic Justice...
Civic Justice Corps is a restorative justice work training program. Young people who had been involved in the system who, I think folks who are justice involved have a hard time getting living wage jobs, and then we have recidivism and all those things because we don't, as a country and as a society, support like having people like evolve, right? Or get their second chance, or however you want to put it. Mm-hmm. And so we really worked with employers and trainers. We worked with parks. We worked with Habitat for Humanity and some other community providers who really worked alongside young people to learn skills in trades, landscaping, all kinds of things that actually will pay living wages. And also bring some constructive feeling of productivity, and a lot of my young people said they felt a lot of peace working out at Discovery Park and some of the parks that they work with those folks. So
that's where I find God is in nature. Yeah, and the Native American way is that. So I just follow. And your leadership, incredible. We just got you started on one of the facets of your story. Grew up in Oahu and also Chicago. Spent some time in Chicago.
A little north of Chicago. But yeah, I say Chicago because that's usually where people recognize. I've been right between Chicago and Milwaukee, actually.
Okay.
Two good blues cities.
Go.
Yeah.
I was going to say, there's blues history all over Chicago, Illinois. University of Illinois, where you got your BS, Bachelor of Science. University of Washington, you got the nonprofit public management side of things and educator side of things, and you've turned that into great leadership. You're a board member, local learning, Folk Alliance. You're a chair of the Seattle Music Commission still?
No, I'm now an emeritus commissioner. I've been off for a few years, but
part of your story.
Yeah.
Reese now is the managing director of Northwest Folk Life. That's got to keep you very busy.
A little bit.
You get to play music on the side when you have a moment. So we might see you at the Beacon Arts Festival, where parts of Lavender Lucy might be.
Yes, a little reincarnation. June 8th, I just got a call, and we're really excited to play up at that. Their street fair is wonderful at El Centro at the Plaza.
All summer long, they're going to be hiring people, giving them money to play music up there. It's
they're in Jefferson Park, right? Just down the street. Beacon Arts Alliance, you had Jay on the other day. I had Jay on, The Beacon Arts Alliance is amazing. The kind of localized and hyperlocal work they're doing for arts and culture, like gardens.
Betty Jean and Jay just really knocked that out of the park. Yeah. And leadership, they can show all of us how to do it.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
that it's not, and I think that is interesting. You're talking about that quote, like when you talk about going big, sometimes it's going big in a small place, right? Like in your community, and just like having a vision and a dream and a mission, and just like really rallying people around it and creating something that is beloved and endeared to community, I think.
Well,
for
and
sure.
that's also what you're still doing, even though your main more than full-time job is at the Folklife Festival. You are putting on a series, Women in Blue series. I saw the first one show last year at the Roy Room. Very moving. I was so moved. I was sitting there at the bar with tears running down my face, and I don't usually cry at bars. But just an incredible series that you've now put together this year. Talk about that. Where's that coming from?
Wow. Yeah. I mean, it's interesting because you and I were just talking about the fact, like, I don't consider myself like a blues musician. I mean, I give a lot of reverence and credit to like the history and rooting and all of the genres that I sort of move throughout: rock, right, folk, roots music, and just also knowing, like, as an American, knowing American history. Blues music is a part of that history, and the people who it emanated from, you know, are a deep part of the history. And so it really was interesting as taking you back to like 2014 or 15. I was playing with the Rain City Jazz Orchestra and conducting, and we had been doing a lot of the typical big band stuff. You know, you go and play the dances at Third Place Books, and it was really fun. And then I went to an Earshot Jazz performance on a very terrible night at the Sam Theater of the SWOJO, Seattle Women's Jazz Orchestra, and Robin Holcomb had a concert, and they were playing the music of Mary Lou Williams, and then also paired with some of Robin's works at the time. And, you know, I've always been very affected that there's a women's music scene, or there's a lot of leadership in music and arts through women. And you know, now I think just understanding more myself, like just through a history of like two-spirit trans folks, and like gender non-conforming and non-binary folks. And the music of Mary Lou Williams just hit me in a certain way. And I have, you know, part of me was like, I went through many, many years of band, school band, jazz band, all kinds of things, and never talked about Mary Lou Williams. And you know, not just her, but several of her contemporaries as well. And so that moment hit me where I was like, there's a whole history here that is basically made fairly invisible, right? And I think there's two things. One, there's some sexism in that, right? And then there's definitely some racism in that. Like I gotta name it. Like a couple of the folks that, you know, I was following some of their work, like Mary Lou, black woman, right? She wrote for Benny Goodman. She wrote for Duke Ellington's band. She wrote
Pianist.
Yeah, pianist. Amazing. Amazing. I mean, just amazing story and history, and also just her evolution of herself in life, and then came out on the other side in the 80s. Like then wrote and worked with Alvin Ailey Dance Group, right, on her sacred jazz / everything music. Also found out in her history, like there's a lot of documented. I guess history about her sort of being a key element to moving the bebop movement and mentoring folks that we know really well, right, in that scene, Charlie Parker, Dizzy Gillespie. And I think, but then her name's not in there unless you're like real jazz aficionado. Right. And I think the last 5 years I've seen, maybe 5 to 7 years, I've seen a little bit more. Like NPR did some series. Monterey Jazz Fest had like a whole section on her, like a feature. And so that was a long way of saying, like, it was just this moment of like erasure and invisibility is very real. in the music realm, and part of reclaiming that and trying to like make folks more aware, or being able to like play that music with, you know, an all women and non-binary jazz orchestra, was to like reclaim a part of like, why are we always why are we always silenced in a certain way? Like a lot of the folks in that group had come through, you know, had different experience of like, oh, you know, they weren't always like, they were always sort of not the soloists, and not, you know, they were playing in the bands, but always not just not picked, but just not encouraged, right? And so I think representation is there. I think there's also just a matter of like claiming some ownership. And so that started me down the track where we pushed the band towards doing more work by women, and particularly women of color, but like also like Maria Schneider, Toshiko Akiyoshi, amazing. Like she's still alive, by the way, and like has an amazing band and does amazing works. Did stuff like capturing some Lil Hardin stuff. I had a friend transcribe and do a big band arrangement of Sister Rosetta Tharpe, right? So just digging further and further back. And then also with the Rock Camp had been doing quite a bit of work with like the real history of rock and roll. And that, you know, when you're teaching young people, again, in this realm of like, they don't see themselves in some of these places, especially in these louder, more like identity places where people like get into identity politics, but really just claiming some identity and claiming some space, like having some historical context about what rock and roll, where it actually came from, like, or where the parts of it that were influenced, like stepping all the way back, not only to the blues, but also to like slaves and the field haulers, right? Like going all the way back in that history and then coming forward and understanding like, yeah, there is a struggle in there, and there is an angst, and that's why it's so loud, and that's why we actually have a right to claim our part in that. We can see both our challenge and our triumph, right? And it's liberating to be able to claim that. So a lot of work, did like little workshops that infused that history. Tried to make sure that like when we do those workshops, we're really like putting out examples of, you know, folks like Sister Rosetta, folks like, I mean, even just understanding how much musical depth, like Aretha and Nina Simone, like all those folks that, you know, in one way, and especially for their voice, but also looking at their historical context and their contribution musically as a whole. So, then comes to the part where like I look around, you know, and see blues festivals, and I see blues being included in a lot of places here, and you know, it's there's not a ton of women, maybe a little bit more today, but like still not a lot of women. And you know, quite honestly, I'm not going to say there are no women of color doing this. There's a lot of like black and brown women doing this, and like again, the way that it's presented, and then also the numbers that you see, and the prevalence of like how it's not just a Thursday night,
right,
going to a thing when you're going to see that not and singers, but as well as like piano players and bass players, right? So I think, and drummers, and so I think that part of the incarnation of this was just another facet of like, how do I use my connections to folks? How do I get to see these like amazing musicians that I know, that some of them don't strictly identify as blues musicians, but all have this very deep like connection and understand like that connection to their musical history and their roots. And how do I bring that together in a place to feature so more people see where the roots of this person who identifies as a punk, right? A rock or punk musician, but then also sings Memphis Minnie or sings sings Coco Taylor, right? And then does the hell out of it, and then also is taking it into these different realms where also again a lot of punk history is whitewashed and not given the due to black and brown women who were in that space, and so I think it's a following trend of just trying to find the ways that I have at my access to pull these pieces together so that we can see better, we can see more clearly.
Yes, and it's a safe place for the women to branch out. You got a great band holding the little net together. Jimmy James is your guitar player coming up this Thursday at the Royal Room in Columbia City. Is one more of the series. We managed to get Bonnie McCoy booked. That is Memphis Minnie's niece. That's going to be pretty exciting. Oh.
Yeah,
and she can sing the blues too.
Oh yeah, and I mean she is she's in Chicago now, but she has Seattle ties. She Bob West lured her out here. Yeah. A couple so it's like 10, 15 years ago now.
He recorded her in 2017, and that was her first release.
Yeah.
And now there's a new release out as well. So I'm looking forward to seeing them be part of your show.
Yeah. Nice Seattle roots. They're Crab Radio and Jack Straw.
Right.
Cultural Center. Yeah.
Bob West was on my show. Yeah, we go way back. He helped me do the Garden House shows up there on Beacon Hills, matter of fact, coming full circle. So Bonnie McCoy will be part of that. What else you got for Thursday? You've got Maya Marie on the bill.
Oh, yeah, Maya Marie. I mean, if you're a local musician and you don't know Maya, then you got to get out to her shows. I mean,
she can play the tractor, and she can play the punk room. She can play anything she wants.
Yeah, it's really exciting to see. I think she also has maybe got an album coming out. I was trying to look to check it. Yeah, so maybe doing some mixing and things. And Charlotte Carruthers, who is actually she's I think a lot of people know her from keys. Like she was playing in Mach 1 jazz band, and she does a couple big band. And sits in a lot. But then a couple of years ago, I heard her sing, and I was like, it's just also like opening my own eyes, right? Like I always pigeonhole, like, oh, you're a drummer, right? Kellen sings.
Exactly.
Yeah. And so it's just like opening your mind to like, it's not just a singer or just right? Like there's this place that we can showcase all the talents. Anyway, she's a fabulous singer, and so she's going to be singing some tunes and, tinkling the ivories.
We got more to talk about with Reese Tanimura, and yes, the show this Thursday is one of a series. The next will be in June because May is when Folklife happens.
No, we're actually doing May.
You are doing
May.
So
it's third Thursday. So
all the way
I think
through.
It's May 16th.
Look out!
Yeah, so we're doing third Thursday for 4 months at a time. This is the second year.
Very good.
Thank you to the Royal Room for bringing that back.
So I just went to one show last year. Coming out of the pandemic, I was like, okay, I'm going to try and be around people. We got to just take the risk these days. Okay, let me give a shout out to my sponsor, not just the Seattle Drum School, but Mitch's Best Buffalo Sauce. Go ahead, hit the music, Christian. You got the music.
Mitch's Best Buffalo Sauce. Mitch's Best Buffalo Sauce. Well, the sauce boss says you've tried the rest. Well, you'll be back, 'cause this one's best. Mitch's Best Buffalo Sauce.
Oh, yes. With just the right heat and just the right bite, this rich and creamy sauce made with all real butter tastes great on everything except dessert. Handmade in small batches, it's made like a gourmet French sauce. Tastes great on any chicken dish, including wings. It's also great on any seafood, roasted vegetables, and many other foods. Available locally at QFC, Metropolitan Markets, Hagen Markets, and most fine meat shops in the Puget Sound area, or directly from Chef Mitch, the sauce boss, at mitchesfoods.com. And there's his QR code. Oh, yes, it is right there, nice and big. So Mitch will be here next week to serve sauce and some little samples of shrimp and chicken and whatever.
How do you know it's not good on dessert?
Well, it could be. That's a challenge. We're going to have to put that out there and see what happens.
I feel like, like this is the umami, sweet, sour, salty for dessert thing.
You're bringing your Hawaiian roots to this aloha
way.
stuff, right? We got to mix it. Put a little poke in there.
I'm interested. I was interested. It's like...
Well, Reese Tanimura, my guest, we're going to have to give you a bottle of that Mitch's Best Buffalo Sauce and see if you can come up with some sort of dessert item. We do have a second Sunday at 3 today at the Seattle Drum School. All kinds of lessons are taught here. You can play rehearsals. You can do a CD party, release party, baby shower, private party, live concert, even a funeral if you want to. Hell, it used to be a funeral home, and this was the chapel. So anyway, all kinds of lessons here at the Seattle Drum School. Please.
Mo Jams.
That's right.
Is Yo Jams.
She's going to be here this afternoon after they do the youth showcase. They follow it with a youth Mo Jam, and Mo leads it. It's awesome. It's really a great opportunity to stretch out and take that risk.
I think it's been like a decade. And it's crazy because I also Mo Jams
Drummer, yes.
Would come and sit in as like a sub drummer and like had this. I want to do a jam and then just seeing her build that community. And that's really the amazing part is like there's jams, right? But it's a group of folks that like trying a whole bunch of different stuff. It's all improv. It's also like this place where people are very like encouraging and
it is a safe place at the Nectar every Monday.
Yeah.
Because they put it they create that safe space.
Yeah.
I mean, even I showed up and got up on stage and played. I was shaking like a leaf. It was only one chord, but it was so cool. I was like, yes, I did.
that's how you start.
Yeah.
One.
Got to take that risk.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we are sitting with Reese Tanimura, an incredible part of this music town. Seattle is a music town. Used to be more of a music town. Heck, we had bands playing 5 and 6 and 7 nights a week. At one point, Pioneer Square was lit up. So we're trying to get back to a more active music scene. And we actually have historical connection that goes way back, and I gotta put this out there. My mom passed this last year, and she was the choir director and organist at a place in Renton called Lake Ridge Lutheran Church. And when I first met you, I was mind blown because you were the choir director and music director at Lake Ridge Lutheran Church, where my mom was. For 30 years.
Well, and Pastor Scott retired, I think, just a couple years back, kind of as headed in the pandemic. Was great when I joined. What he was looking for was to bring, just different elements of music and how that sort of helped be one of the vehicles for spirituality, right? And he was also, I think by family and by birth, I'm a Buddhist. I'm sort of, I don't say I'm not agnostic. I'm sort of maybe universalist. Like, I think that everybody has the capability and spirituality is a place for everyone, and it may look different,
Just the power of belief
is
what I've always said.
I think
like,
that
you
sometimes
believe? Okay,
the institutions get in the way, but
Right.
there are lovely people like Scott who was just looking. So, I brought some secular music in there, brought some jazz and blues, brought some folk, and but yeah, it's really kind of cool to find all those little points of like.
I grew up in that church. I mean, they put those stained glass windows in when I was a kid. So, yeah, it's just incredible to put that full circle around. And so you're a board member still in many places. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. Local Learning, Folk Alliance, the Seattle Music Commission, you're emeritus. How do you, keep sanity? Because, I mean... Do you swim? What do you do that keeps you grounded? Play music?
Some of these places, one, I think we were talking about mission, right? I love that you have gone to .org because I feel like it's like mission based, right?
Yes.
And you definitely are a human that is mission based.
I agree. Thank you.
But I think it's choosing things that for me work towards my larger mission is like connecting people with experiences that help them thrive, right? And whether that's through music or through some kind of creative economy, or whether that's, workforce development in trades and training, like those are all things that are important to me. It's like money's a reality, but also there's other things, and especially in the arts, we know that there are other benefits, and just ways that arts help people to thrive and heal, because there's a lot of healing that needs to go on.
Totally. I saw a sign on the way here. It said, heal PTSD. And I'm like, it's not cure. It's not fix. It's, okay, here's where I'm at. Heal. Let me get some healing. And music is like my first thought of how to do that.
Yeah, I mean, I think, it's not cliche when people say music heals, because both on the level of like listening as an experience, but also listening with the understanding that there are other people sharing that experience in some way, whether in a live setting where you do that sort of, you have an experience together, or like if it's on the radio, like, who knows, somebody across the globe might be listening by satellite and having that moment, right? Or for musicians, I know a lot of folks, it can be a mixed blessing, because it can be a place for me. If I sit with my guitar sometimes, I don't really have to play or practice or anything, just kind of whatever that comes out, just put you in a place, mindfulness state of being with yourself and that moment. And then it can also, like, I know for some friends, it was painful to have this like thing, especially during the pandemic, where like it felt like you should have more time to create, but there was so much stress about like losing all your, your viable income or your job. And then also like, just how do you comment on a world that is like off its axis, right?
Right.
So I mean, I think that's a place that also maybe the conversation starts. So it may not be the direct healing, but it may be the predecessor to healing, sure. Which, like, they say in the 12 steps, right? You have to acknowledge, and you have to be in a place to start to accept the process before you can even get into the process. So, right. But I do some of those other things. Local Learning is a great organization that actually works on using folk arts and traditional arts, and really like thinking about culture bearers, about primary learning, getting young people, educators and young people in sort of context and getting some of that learning through primary sources, being humans that carry the knowledge and the history, and then also, some of the stories, like they capture it on video or they do interviews, or the ED spends a lot of time. It's a very small org, so the ED and the one staff member spend a lot of time running around across the country, working with teachers in different schools on how to effectively try to use the resource that is artists, right, and culture bearers as a means of learning.
Sounds like Blues in Schools, Annette Taborn and myself working on that project. Yeah, and it's right in line with what you're talking about. Yeah,
I think there's so many different parts that have to make, so many schools, so many young people out there who need, they're looking for something. I don't know what they need. Like, I don't want to speak for young people, but I think they, by and large, especially like now, we're talking about folks who have been disaffected and sort of had lost a couple of years in there, of very crucial years. So trying to find the spaces where you can help them feel more connected. And I know a lot of young people that come through our programs talk about arts and music, particularly being part of that connection back, or getting back into, or even through like YouTube, right, or through the social media channels, like having that connection to audiences or to people who are doing the same thing.
Right. In the Seattle Drum School, we do that same mission, just getting kids to experience the music and put it together so they can learn how to communicate with each other. I mean, that's half of music, is making eye contact and
that's right,
being in the same beat.
Yeah.
Well, I have a feeling we could talk for hours, but I'm going to let you have your Sunday afternoon back. You were a lifeguard, no doubt, in Hawaii, right?
No, that was in
here?
Illinois.
Oh,
That was actually in
Illinois. So you could save us in big ways and small ways. I want you to tell that story. Christian liked it as well, about the house that you grew up in and how it was built with military boxes. Tell me just quickly, because it was fascinating.
We were talking real quick about like history. I'm Japanese, and so like, you know, internment is a thing. I grew up in Hawaii though, where it was minimal compared to like what happened here on the West Coast. My grandparents had a farm on the North Shore, very rural part of the island, and part of how they built their house and some of the garage and the barnyard and things was through grabbing old military crates, their gun crates and their supply crates off of a dump at the end of the road. Used to be that some of that wood was very nice wood because, you know, that's heavy stuff that they're sending back and forth. So my grandpa used to, and his father would tow it back to the house and slowly built it up from the studs on up. And so, like, you know, it was first just sticks on with a corrugated tin roof and then floors. But now in Hawaii, there's just termites are a thing, and wood, you know, like this was before, nice, you know, like Terminix and whatever. So like, you know, there's quite a few termites living in, I mean, like if I go back, the structure's still standing, but I think that if you took the termites away, the structure might not stand up. They're part of the infrastructure now. Living infrastructure.
Little carcasses, little pieces of
I mean, you know, just like it's a symbiotic relationship with the house.
Right. Well, now, do you go back? You go back on a regular basis to Hawaii, right?
I try to go back once a year. There was that was the last place I was before during the lockdown, or like they had all the things from February to March, and I left on March 6th to go for a visit. Oops. And I left Hawaii on March 16th. Like I had been on the phone most of my vacation with my board and my co-director, like, what do we do? It's an 8-week lockdown, and then the festival happens right after it, and then we have some doctors on our board that advised us well, you know, that this wasn't just a thing that people were thinking was going to happen and go away. But and I flew back on the 16th, and that's when Hawaii shut down to non-essential travel. So. Wow. Yeah, so, you know, thinking about island community, it was serious. Like, if something happens, they don't have the medical infrastructure, like it spreads like wildfire, right, because you're in a closed system. So they took it really seriously, and I think actually fared fairly well because of it, because I think it could have got, you know, because people are like, oh, well, I can't go anywhere else. I'm just going to go on vacation and then bring whatever from wherever to the island. Right. So, yeah, so I think... So that was, I do try to go back, and I hope to go back for longer stretches because it's nice to settle in and surf as my other meditative activity, which is a little cold to do in Washington State. So.
Well, a pleasure having a conversation with you. I hope we get to have chapter 2. Thanks for tearing out a little bit of a moment here before the Folklife Festival. Yeah. You are the executive director?
Managing director. I'm co-director, with Benjamin Hunter.
Yeah, Ben Hunter. I knew you were working with Ben. He's like artistic side, and I mix up my titles all the time. But.
Yeah. But come on out to the 18th. I mean, besides Bonnie, Maya, and Charlotte, and Jimmy, of course, on drums, on guitar, it, you know, just the vibe of the room. A lot of great folks come out, and gonna hear some amazing, just spontaneous. Feels a little jam-like in that way, and I like that. You know, that spontaneity.
Sure.
And go see Bonnie at Vermilion the next night.
Right. We're going to have Ashley Young Durant on keyboards, and Anthony Estrada on guitar, and Anil Prasad on some sort of drum kit. He's a drummer, so we'll have some sort of rhythm situation. That's at Vermilion on Capitol Hill, and there is parking at Seattle Central, just about 3 blocks west of there, if you're not familiar. It can work out 8 to 11, and then the dance crowd kicks in.
Yeah.
So it's going to be an interesting night. And then Bent Bine Brew is where we're going to
out
put
in
Bonnie
Belfair.
as well in Belfair on the 20th, 420, and that should be fun again. Anthony Estrada, Double H on the harmonica, and that's 5 to 8 p.m. So a little earlier show out there in Belfair. So more on the calendar. You got a May date. What date at the Royal Room do you have already?
May 16th at the Royal Room for the next
That Thursday
one.
night.
Yeah, and we're featuring like different musicians' music at each night. So check out theroyalroom.com, royalseattle.com.
It's Sister Rosetta Tharpe, Memphis Minnie.
And Bonnie Raitt.
And
so
Bonnie
kind of
Raitt.
the guitar heroes.
I love all these women.
And then
Next month, what you
I
got?
believe it's Ethel Waters, Nina Simone, and Aretha Franklin on the next one. And then we have a June date. And then come on and see me at the Folklife Festival.
Yep, you're going to be around.
There's blues and everything. I mean, there's everything there.
You're getting a little more gray, I notice.
4 days, 26 stages and activation areas, 400 groups, usually about 3,500 performers and culture bearers that weekend.
I've been emceeing the festival, talking about the festival since I was on the radio at KBCS decades ago.
Oh, let me mention this. On the Friday of the festival, we're piloting a very new thing. So there's two things. On Friday, from 9 to 4:30, we're doing a creative ecosystem summit. So at the festival, we do workshops and panels, and we talk about, different parts of the ecosystem, and whether it's placemaking, cultural space, artist care, right? We do all these different kinds of workshops. So we're sort of focusing a lot of that. We do have workshops throughout the fest, but we're focusing a lot of that to the Friday. We're going to be at KXP Vera and SIF on the northwest corner, and convening some amazing folks, both to talk about what they're doing, but also to shepherd some discussions for folks that come to the summit. One of the people I'm really excited about, Dina Ross Jennings, is a gourd banjo maker who runs a little festival on her farm in Virginia. She grows her own gourds and makes gourd banjos, and then also does a lot of roots and history.
I got to meet her.
Yeah, she's incredible. And she's training out here, actually. And then she'll be at the Maker's Space at the festival. So come join us for that. And the night before, we're going to have a little reception called the Bites for Folklife for the summit folks, and a little bit of a sort of fundraiser. The festival is not ticketed. I hate using the free word because, I don't love for people to think that just art is liberating, but not without value.
Very well put. Very well put.
So
it has been known as a free event.
Yes,
but they take donations, and there's volunteer work.
Pay what you can,
Yeah.
and contribute to keeping it gateless and ticketless and accessible to folks, and
encourage young people to volunteer. Changing of the guard. Some of the older folks have retired.
Come out and check it out, because it's a really chill, you can walk around.
It is. It's so welcoming. Yeah. I remember being a kid and just meeting strangers and going, wow, can we be best friends?
Very lovely people with lots of stories and history. Yeah, and so the night before in the KXP Gathering Space, we're going to have that reception and Bites fundraiser, so that we can keep this thing going. It's 53 years this year, and we were hoping, another 50 or 100 would be great.
Reese Tanimura, bringing the aloha to the Northwest Folklife Festival for a few years now and continuing. What's in the future for you? You got any answers?
I mean, what I see in front of me, just continuing to be in community with some amazing humans in the Northwest. Music and art scene.
Well, I have to say goodbye. That's about all we have time left for. We did do a little calendar. I'm going to put it up on my website and also put it up on Instagram. KZ is teaching me. I'm learning. Reese Tanimura putting on the Royal Room Women in Blues series this Thursday, a tribute to Memphis Minnie, Sister Rosetta Tharpe, and Bonnie Raitt. I will see you there. Next week, we have Mitch Pumpian, the harmonica man, and a fine chef indeed. He'll be serving his best buffalo sauce with bites of chicken and shrimp, and then we follow that with the All-Star Women's Jam session from 2 to 5 here at the Seattle Drum School. If you have suggestions for guests or bathroom reviews or calendar items, whatever you need, put it with your Venmo. Blues to do. Just hook me up, because this does cost money to put out, and we appreciate your support. Always looking for sponsors. We've got Mitch, but we're looking for more sponsors. And do watch our archives. Lots of great guests. I tell you what, Brittany Davis was awesome last week, and I could do that again.
They are an amazing performer and human.
That's right.
Yeah.
Very, very
I think
brilliant.
They're playing with Painted Shield pretty soon too, right?
Yeah, and
another
brilliant science mind behind all that. Just a brilliant person. Anyway, thanks to Christian Sadler, my engineer, and KZ, a guide, just a true guide. It is real music, real people, real stories. Living the blues.
Advisor.
Until next week. Bye for now. Really.